The pen moved across the signature line at 11:47 p.m. David Harrington didn't pause. His hand had signed so many documents that year that the motion was automatic, a muscle memory divorced from conscious thought. The office was dark except for his desk lamp, casting a yellow circle of light over the stack of papers before him. His coffee had gone cold 3 hours ago. The building's heating system had shut off at 10, and the December chill was starting to creep through the windows. 47 pages. Standard quarterly contract. Housing program renewal. His assistant had left a sticky note on top. Needs signature before midnight filing deadline. Legal already reviewed. He flipped to the first page. Scanned the header. His eyes moved to the budget line. The numbers matched. That was what he always checked. He flipped to the last page. Signed. Electronic timestamp. 11:47 p.m. Second document. Same scan. Same signature. 11:48 p.m. Third document. His pen hesitated for half a second. Not from caution, just from fatigue. He signed. 11:49 p.m. Done. He closed the folder, grabbed his coat, and turned off his desk lamp. The office fell into darkness. Behind him, on page 3 of the third document, paragraph 7, line 4, a name sat in small black font. Not highlighted. Not flagged. Just another line in a section he'd never reached. Beneficiary removal. Martinez, Sophia, minor, age 9. His signature was already dry. He drove home through empty streets. He was asleep by 12:45. He slept fine that night. 14 hours earlier, on that same Tuesday morning, Sophia Martinez was drawing a house. She sat at the small kitchen table in Unit 14, Building C, hunched over a piece of construction paper with a red crayon in her hand. The house had a pointed roof and 2 windows and a door with a round doorknob. Smoke curled from the chimney even though their apartment didn't have a chimney. She'd seen chimneys in books. Her mother, Carmen, was already dressed for work. Blue scrubs, white sneakers worn thin from 12-hour shifts on hospital floors. She stood at the counter packing Sophia's lunch, a sandwich, an apple, 3 cookies wrapped in a napkin. That's pretty, Mija. Who's that for? It's for us. Sophia didn't look up. She was adding grass now, green spikes at the bottom of the page. It's our house. When we get to stay forever. Carmen's hands stopped moving. She looked at the calendar on the wall. December puppies. Small purple X's marking off the days. And there, 2 weeks away, a red circle around December 15th with a tiny house drawn next to it. Almost identical to the one Sophia was making now. You know that's not exactly how it works, right? The program renews every year. It doesn't mean. I know. Sophia added a sun in the corner. Yellow with long rays extending to the edges of the paper. But this is the 3rd time. You said if we do everything right, they keep saying yes. So eventually they have to say yes forever. Carmen didn't correct her. What would be the point? 9 years old was too young to understand that doing everything right didn't always matter. That systems had rules that didn't care about your behavior. That a family could be perfect and still fall through a crack no one knew existed. Finish your breakfast. Bus comes in 10 minutes. Sophia set down the red crayon and picked up her spoon. The cereal had gone soggy while she was drawing, but she ate it anyway. Her backpack sat by the door, purple with a unicorn patch she'd sewn on herself, crooked but secure. Inside, homework completed, permission slip signed, library book due back Friday. Everything in order. Everything correct. Carmen watched her daughter eat and felt the familiar knot of anxiety that lived in her stomach every December. 3 years they'd been in this apartment. 3 years of paying rent on time, submitting documents by every deadline, following every rule. Twice before, the renewal had come through without issue. 2 letters on the refrigerator, held by a watermelon magnet. We are pleased to inform you that your housing assistance has been renewed. This year would be the same. It had to be. Mom. Sophia's voice pulled her back. Can we get a tree this year? A real one. A real one. Maria's family gets a real one. She says it smells like outside. Carmen calculated quickly. A real tree was $30 minimum. Plus the stand. Plus the extra electricity for lights. But Sophia was looking at her with that expression. Hopeful, but ready to accept no. The way children learn to look when they'd heard no often enough. We'll see. After the 15th, okay? Once we know for sure. Sophia nodded solemnly. She understood waiting. She'd been waiting her whole life, in one way or another. The bus honked outside. Sophia grabbed her backpack, kissed her mother on the cheek, and ran for the door. Carmen watched from the window as her daughter climbed the steps, found a seat, pressed her face to the glass to wave goodbye. The bus pulled away. The apartment went quiet. Carmen stood alone in the kitchen for a long moment, looking at the calendar. 14 days. Then she gathered her things and left for work. On the table, Sophia's drawing lay drying. A house with a chimney, a sun with long rays, green grass and a blue sky, and two stick figures in front, one tall, one small, both smiling. Underneath, in careful 9-year-old handwriting, our home. That same morning, David Harrington was in a board meeting. He'd been awake since 5. His calendar was a solid wall of commitments, every slot filled from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The board meeting ran long. The donor lunch ran longer. The budget review didn't end until 9. He was good at his job. 11 years running one of the largest housing foundations in the region. 14,000 active cases. 212 employees. $47 million annual budget. His signature appeared on more documents in a single month than most people signed in a decade. He had learned, over those 11 years, how to survive this pace. He delegated aggressively. He trusted his department heads. He read summaries instead of full reports. He signed documents that legal had already cleared without questioning their contents. This was how you ran an organization this size. You built systems. You hired good people. You trusted the process. The December 1st contract was part of that process. It arrived in his inbox at 9:14 p.m., flagged as routine. 47 pages. 17 minutes until deadline. Legal had already reviewed it. His assistant had flagged it as standard. The format was identical to every other quarterly contract he'd signed that year. So he did what he always did. He never saw page 3. Sofia Martinez had a ritual for December. Every morning, she woke up before her alarm and looked at the calendar on her wall. She counted the X's. She counted the empty squares between today and the red circle. She whispered the number to herself like a prayer. December 2nd, 13 days. December 3rd, 12 days. On December 4th, she decided to make another drawing. This one showed the apartment building from outside. The bricks she'd colored brown, the windows she'd made yellow to show lights inside. Their window was on the 2nd floor, 3rd from the left. She put a tiny Christmas tree in it, even though they didn't have one yet. What happens on the 15th? Her friend Maria asked at lunch. We find out if we get to stay. Stay where? In our apartment. Maria looked confused. In her world, apartments were permanent. You lived somewhere until you decided to move. The idea that someone else could decide for you was foreign. Who would make you leave? Sophia wasn't sure how to explain it. Her mother had tried once, using words like program and assistance and renewal. What Sophia understood was this. Every year, someone looked at their family and decided whether they were allowed to keep living where they lived. If the answer was yes, they stayed. If the answer was no, they left. For 2 years, the answer had been yes. It's like a test, Sophia said finally. We have to pass the test to stay. What's on the test? I don't know, but we always pass. She said it with confidence because she needed to believe it was true, because the alternative was too frightening to consider. That afternoon, walking home from the bus stop, she counted the windows of her building. 12 on each floor. 3 floors. 36 families. She wondered how many of them were taking the same test. She wondered if any of them were afraid. There were 36 families in that building. Sophia counted them once. She didn't know that none of them were being tested. They were all being processed. Her mother got home at 7, tired but smiling. They ate dinner together, rice and beans with the chicken from yesterday. Sophia did her homework at the kitchen table while her mother watched from the couch, eyes half closed. Mom, when you were little, did you have to take the test? Carmen opened her eyes. What test, Mija? The one we take. To stay. Carmen was quiet for a moment. Then she got up and sat next to Sophia at the table. When I was little, we lived with my grandmother. She owned her house. We didn't have to take any tests. How do you own a house? You buy it. With money. How much money? A lot. More than we have right now. Sophia nodded slowly. She was doing math in her head, the kind of math 9-year-olds do, where numbers are abstract and everything seems possible if you just wait long enough. If we save money every year, will we have enough someday? Carmen's throat tightened. Maybe. Someday. Then we won't have to take the test anymore. No. Then we won't have to take the test. Sophia returned to her homework with renewed focus. She had a goal now, something to work toward. Someday they would have enough money. Someday they would own a house with a chimney. Someday nobody would be able to tell them to leave. She just had to pass this year's test first. That night, after her homework was finished, Sophia retrieved her drawing from her backpack. The apartment building with the yellow windows. Their window, second floor, third from the left. "Mom, can I hang this up?" Carmen looked up from the dishes. "Where?" "By my bed, next to the calendar." "There's not much space there, Mija. The calendar takes up most of the wall." "I know, but there's a little spot." "See." Sophia held the drawing up to the wall, positioning it in the narrow gap between the calendar and the window frame. "It fits." Carmen dried her hands and walked over. The wall above Sophia's bed was already crowded. The calendar with its December puppies. A photo from Sophia's school picture day, gap-toothed smile, purple bow slightly crooked. A ribbon from the spelling bee, second place, which Sophia insisted was as good as first because the first place winner was a fifth grader. 3 years of small accumulations. 3 years of making this corner of the apartment hers. The tape might not hold. That part of the wall is bumpy. I'll use extra tape. You said that last time. Remember the spelling bee ribbon? Fell down in the middle of the night. Scared you half to death. Sophia grinned. That was funny though. I thought it was a ghost. You screamed so loud Mrs. Okonkwo knocked on the door. She brought us cookies after. Because she thought someone was being murdered. Sophia laughed. The easy, unself-conscious laugh of a child who felt safe. She pressed the drawing against the wall again, adjusting the angle. Right here. Please. Carmen looked at the spot. Looked at her daughter. Looked at the drawing. The careful brown bricks. The yellow windows. The tiny Christmas tree in their window. Fine. But use 4 pieces of tape. And small pieces. We're almost out. Sophia was already reaching for the tape dispenser on the desk. She measured each piece carefully, tearing them with her teeth the way Carmen had taught her. One by one, she pressed them to the corners of the drawing, smoothing each edge with her thumb. When she was done, she stepped back to look. The drawing hung slightly crooked. The bottom left corner was already starting to curl where she'd colored too hard with the brown crayon. She didn't fix it. She liked it the way it was. Perfect, she said. Carmen stood in the doorway and watched her daughter study the wall, the calendar, the photo, the ribbon, the drawing. All the small things that turned a rented room into a home. Mom, this is my favorite wall in the whole apartment. Carmen smiled. Why is that? Because it has all my stuff. And when I wake up, I can see it before I even get out of bed. And it reminds me that I live here. She said it simply, as if it were obvious. As if needing a reminder that you lived somewhere was a normal thing for a 9-year-old to need. Carmen didn't say anything. She just walked over and kissed the top of Sophia's head. Brush your teeth. Bed in 10 minutes. Okay. Sophia looked at the wall one more time. Then she went to brush her teeth. In the morning, the apartment smelled like coffee and the particular warmth of radiator heat. The pipes groaned when Mrs. Okonkwo ran her shower upstairs, a sound Sophia had learned to recognize, to expect, to find comforting in its predictability. The floorboards creaked near the kitchen doorway. 3 creaks in a specific pattern, like a song. Sophia had memorized the melody without meaning to. Left foot, right foot, left foot. Every morning for 3 years. The light came through her window at exactly 7:12 a.m. She knew because she'd timed it once, lying in bed and watching the shadow on her wall shrink until the first stripe of sun touched her pillow. If she positioned herself just right, she could wake up with warmth on her face instead of the alarm. These were the things she didn't think about. The things that were just there, just true, just part of what it meant to live in Unit 14, Building C. 10 days to go. Then 9. Then 8. The Foundation's legal team had spent 3 days reviewing the Q4 contract before it reached David's desk. 4 attorneys examined budget compliance. 2 paralegals verified contract terms. The general counsel signed off on liability clauses. They did their jobs thoroughly. But Section 12 wasn't their job. Section 12 was titled Beneficiary Status Updates. It appeared on page 3, between compliance certification and operational parameters. 7 lines. 7 names. 7 status changes. Line 4. Martinez, Sophia, minor, age 9, status, removed. Reason code, ink threshold exceed. The legal team didn't flag it because beneficiary status updates weren't legal issues. They were operational decisions. Already reviewed by operations. Already processed by finance. Legal's job was contract format and enforceability. Each department completed its function. Each box was checked. David's signature was the last step in a chain that had been moving for weeks. By the time the document reached his desk, the decision was already made. His signature simply made it official. He trusted the system. The system trusted him to read. Neither of them did what they were supposed to do. December 10th, 5 days before the red circle. Sophia woke to the sound of her mother on the phone. The bedroom door was closed, but Sophia could hear the voice through the thin walls. Calm but tense. The way her mother sounded when she was trying not to sound worried. Yes, I'm just calling to check the status. Martinez, Carmen. Unit 14, Building C. Sophia pulled the blanket over her head and counted to 100. By the time she reached 87, she heard her mother hang up. At breakfast, Carmen smiled like nothing was wrong. Everything okay? Sophia asked. Everything's fine. Just checking to make sure our paperwork went through. Did it? They said it's processing. We'll hear by the 15th. Sophia nodded and ate her cereal. Processing was good. Processing meant someone was looking. Someone was checking the boxes and making sure everything was in order. 5 days. That afternoon, Mrs. Patterson asked the class to share their winter break plans. We're going to my grandma's in Florida, said Marcus. We're getting a puppy, said James. We're staying home, said Sophia. Maybe getting a tree. That sounds lovely, Mrs. Patterson said. Sophia nodded. It did sound lovely. She'd already decided where they would put it, by the window, so people walking by could see the lights. After school, she crossed another X on the calendar. For days, she looked at the 2 letters on the refrigerator. December 2021. December 2022. 2 times they'd passed the test. 2 pieces of paper that said they belonged. Soon there would be a third. She was sure of it. December 14th. Carmen woke at 4:30 a.m., an hour before her alarm. She lay in bed and stared at the ceiling, listening to Sophia breathe in the next room. Tomorrow they would know. She'd been through this twice before. The waiting, the checking, the knot of anxiety that lived in her stomach from the first of the month until the letter arrived. But this year felt different. She couldn't explain why. Maybe it was the automated email she'd received yesterday. Your housing assistance application status has changed. Please check your portal for details. She tried to check. The portal wouldn't load. System error. She'd tried again at lunch. Still down. She'd called the helpline. Wait time 47 minutes. She couldn't wait that long. Today she would try again. Today she would find out what status has changed meant. At breakfast, Sophia was quiet. She'd barely slept either. One more day, Sophia said. One more day. Mom? What if they say no? Carmen set down her coffee cup. This was the question Sophia had never asked before. The question Carmen had hoped she'd never have to answer. They won't say no. But what if they do? Carmen reached across the table and took her daughter's hand. It was small and warm, the fingers still sticky from toast. Then we figure something out. That's what we always do. But they won't say no, Mija. We did everything right. Sophia nodded. She wanted to believe it. She needed to believe it. The bus came. Sophia left for school. Carmen left for work. At 2:07 p.m., during her 15-minute break, Carmen finally accessed the portal. She was sitting in the hospital cafeteria, phone in one hand. The other hand pressed flat against the table to keep it from shaking. The page loaded. At first, her eyes couldn't process what they were seeing. Application status, removed from program. Effective date, January 1st. Reason, beneficiary status updated per Q4 contract review. Appeal deadline, December 22nd. She read it again. Removed from program. She read it a third time. The cafeteria sounds faded. Voices. Footsteps. Trays clattering. None of it reached her. There was only the screen and the words and the cold spreading through her chest. She refreshed the page. The same words appeared. She closed the app. Opened it again. Closed it. Opened it. Removed from program. The words didn't change. She opened her banking app. The numbers loaded faster than she wanted them to. $847.32. That was everything. That was 3 years of trying to build a cushion, and $847.32 was what she had. Rent was $1,200. Due January 1st. Her next paycheck would arrive December 22nd. After taxes, after the health insurance deduction, After the automatic transfer to the savings account she'd set up for emergencies, she would have maybe $600. Maybe less if they'd taken out the extra for Sophia's school lunch account. She did the math 3 times. The numbers didn't improve. She looked at the clock on her phone. 2:11 p.m. Her break ended in 4 minutes. She had patients waiting. Mrs. Hartley in room 304 needed her medication adjusted. Mr. O'Yelleran in 307 was being discharged and needed his paperwork. The charge nurse would notice if she was late getting back. She should eat something. She'd brought a granola bar. It was still in her pocket, unopened. She wasn't hungry. She thought about Sophia. Right now, at this exact moment, Sophia was probably in class. Math, maybe. Or reading. She was sitting at her desk, doing her work, waiting for the day to end so she could go home and ask about the renewal. Sophia didn't know. Sophia was still waiting for good news. Carmen tried to picture herself walking through the apartment door tonight. Tried to picture Sophia's face when she saw her. Tried to imagine what words she would use to explain that the test Sophia believed in, the test they'd passed twice before, had failed them. She couldn't picture it. The scene refused to form. Maybe she wouldn't tell her tonight. Maybe she would wait. File the appeal first. See if there was still a chance. She could smile. She could say still processing. She could buy 1 more day, 2 more days, long enough to know if the appeal would fix it. Was that lying? Was that protecting her daughter? Was there a difference? Her break was over. She'd been sitting here for 8 minutes doing nothing but staring at a screen that told her she had 17 days to dismantle her daughter's life. She put her phone in her pocket. She threw away the granola bar. She wouldn't eat it now, and it would just remind her of this moment. She stood up and walked back to the floor. For the next 5 hours, she checked vitals and adjusted medications and completed discharge paperwork. Her hands didn't shake. Her voice stayed steady. The patients didn't know that the woman handing them their pills was counting down the days until she had to tell her daughter they were homeless. Homeless. Was that the right word? They would have somewhere to go. Rose's apartment. Crowded but available. Family. But Sophia wouldn't see it that way. Sophia would see the calendar with its X's. The letters on the refrigerator. The wall with her drawings and her spelling bee ribbon and her school photo. Sophia would see home disappearing. At 6:30 p.m., Carmen took her second break. She went to the bathroom, locked the door, and stood in front of the mirror. Mija, I need to tell you something. Her reflection looked tired. Older than 34. Mija, the program. What? What came next? The program made a mistake. We're going to fix it. Was it a mistake? The portal said status updated per queue for contract review. That sounded deliberate. The program says we have to leave. But I'm going to appeal. I'm going to fight it. Fight what? Fight who? There was no enemy. There was just a system and a portal and a decision made by someone she would never meet. Mija, I don't know why this happened. But we're going to be okay. That one might be true. They would be okay. Eventually. Somehow. But tonight Sophia would ask why. And Carmen didn't have an answer. She washed her hands. Dried them on the paper towels. Looked at the mirror one more time. We did everything right, she told her reflection. We did everything right. Her reflection didn't argue. She went back to work. Sophia came home from school expecting good news. She ran up the stairs 2 at a time. She unlocked the door with the key she wore on a string around her neck. She dropped her backpack by the couch and went straight to the refrigerator. No new letter. That was okay. Maybe it would come tomorrow. Maybe it would come in an email. Her mother would know. She did her homework. She watched the window for her mother's car. She practiced what she would say when she heard the news. I knew it. I knew we would pass. Her mother got home at 7:15. Later than usual. Carmen walked through the door slowly. Her face was wrong. Sophia could see it immediately. Something behind the eyes. Something that wasn't supposed to be there. Mom. Carmen set down her bag. She took off her jacket. She sat on the couch and looked at her daughter. Come here, Mija. Sophia approached carefully. The way you approach something that might shatter if you move too fast. What happened? I need to tell you something. Sophia already knew. Not the details. Not the words. But she knew. The way children always know when the world is about to change. The program, Carmen started. Then stopped. Then started again. They're saying we can't stay. The words didn't make sense. Sophia heard them, but they didn't connect to anything real. They were just sounds. Just shapes in the air. What do you mean? They removed us. From the program. We have to. Carmen's voice broke. She pressed her hand against her mouth for a moment, composed herself, continued. We have to move out by January 1st. But we passed the test. I know. We did everything right. I know. So why? Sophia's voice cracked. The tears came suddenly, hot and fast. Why are they saying no? Carmen pulled her daughter into her arms and held her tight. She didn't have an answer. She'd been trying to find one all afternoon. She'd called the helpline. She'd waited 89 minutes. She'd talked to someone named Marcus who said things like administrative decision and appeal process and, I'm sorry, ma'am. None of it explained anything. I'm going to fix it, Carmen whispered into Sophia's hair. I'm going to file an appeal. We have until the 22nd. I'm going to fix it. Sophia cried until she couldn't cry anymore. Then she sat on the couch and stared at the wall while her mother made phone calls and took notes and typed things into the computer. At 9:47 p.m., Carmen submitted the appeal. Reason for appeal. I believe there was an error. We have been in good standing for 3 years. We have not violated any program rules. Please review our case. She attached everything. Rent receipts, income verification, employment letter, 3 years of perfect compliance documented in PDFs and JPEGs and carefully worded explanations. The confirmation message appeared. Your appeal has been received. Carmen closed the laptop and went to check on Sophia. She was asleep in her clothes, curled on top of the covers, one hand still clutching the red crayon she'd been holding earlier. Carmen covered her with a blanket, kissed her forehead, turned off the light. 7 days until the appeal deadline. 17 days until they had to be out. She sat in the dark kitchen and waited for morning. December 15th through 19th passed in a blur of waiting and checking and hoping. Carmen checked the portal twice a day. Status: appeal under review. She called once. Reviews typically take 7 to 10 business days. She calculated. If it took 10 days, that was December 29th. Move out was January 1st. 3 days to find somewhere to go if the appeal failed. She started looking at listings anyway. Apartments they couldn't afford. Rooms in houses with strangers. Her sister Rosa's place on the other side of the city. Already crowded, no space, but family. Sophia went to school. She didn't tell anyone what was happening. She sat in class and did her work and counted the hours until she could go home and check for news. On December 18th, Mrs. Patterson asked her to stay after class. Sophia, is everything okay? You seem distracted this week. Sophia nodded. I'm fine. Are you sure? If something's going on at home. I'm fine. She said it firmly enough that Mrs. Patterson let it go. But she watched Sophia walk out of the classroom with the heavy steps of a child carrying something too big for her. December 19th, for 15 p.m., Carmen's phone buzzed during her shift. She wasn't supposed to check personal messages, but she saw the preview. Appeal, status update. She stepped into the supply closet, closed the door, opened the email. Dear Carmen Martinez, your appeal has been reviewed by our determinations team. After careful consideration of your case and the documentation provided, we have determined that the removal decision will be upheld. This decision is final. Per program policy, beneficiaries removed during the renewal period are not eligible for reapplication for 12 months. Please ensure that your unit is vacated by the effective date of January 1st. Thank you for your participation in the program. No explanation. No signature. No name. Carmen read it 3 times. Then she put her phone back in her pocket and finished her shift. 8 more hours. Patients who needed care. Medications to administer. Charts to update. She would fall apart later. Not now. That evening, she told Sophia. They sat on the couch together. The apartment felt smaller than it had that morning. Or maybe it just felt more temporary, now that they knew they were leaving. The appeal? Carmen nodded. They said no. Sophia didn't cry this time. She was past crying. She just sat very still and looked at her hands. Where are we going to go? Tia Rosa's. For now. Until I can find us something else. That's far from here. I know. I won't be able to go to my school. I know, Mija. I'm sorry. Sophia thought about Mrs. Patterson. About Maria. About the window seat on the bus where she could watch their building grow smaller every morning and bigger every afternoon. Did I do something wrong? The question came out quietly. Almost a whisper. Carmen's heart cracked. No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why? Carmen wanted to explain. She wanted to say something that would make sense, something that would help her daughter understand that the world sometimes did things for reasons that had nothing to do with what you deserved. But she didn't have words for that. Not words a 9-year-old could carry. "I don't know," she said. "I don't know why." She held her daughter until Sophia fell asleep. Then she started packing. January 2nd. Tia Rosa's borrowed car made 3 trips across the city. Everything fit. All the furniture that had made Unit 14 feel like home. The table where Sophia did homework. The couch where they watched movies on Friday nights. The bed where Carmen had stayed up late 100 times worrying about renewals and paychecks and whether she was doing enough. All of it fit in a car. 3 trips. 6 hours. By evening, the apartment was empty. Clean. Ready for the next family. Sophia stood in the middle of the living room one last time. The walls were bare. The windows were blank. The calendar was gone. She'd packed it even though December was almost over. She didn't know why. She just couldn't leave it behind. "Time to go, Mija." She walked out the door. She didn't look back. The drive to Rosa's took 45 minutes. The apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that smelled like cooking oil and laundry detergent. Rosa's daughters, Sophia's cousins, ages 7 and 12, had cleared half their room for her. "You can have the bed by the window," said the older one, Maria Elena. Sophia nodded. She put her backpack on the bed and sat down. Through the window, she could see a parking lot. No view of mountains or beaches or castles. Just cars and concrete and a dumpster at the far end. She would have to change schools. The bus didn't come to this neighborhood. Her new school was called Jefferson Elementary. She would start on Monday. For days to forget everything she knew. January 8th. David Harrington received a phone call from his general counsel. "We have a situation." He leaned back in his chair. "What kind of situation?" "A former beneficiary sent something to the board. A letter. And an attached document." "What does it say?" "I think you need to read it yourself." The letter arrived on his desk 15 minutes later. Manila envelope. Certified mail stamp. Handwritten return address he didn't recognize. Inside, 2 pages of lined paper, the kind from a dollar store notebook. Blue ink. Neat handwriting that slanted slightly to the right. He started reading. "My name is Carmen Martinez. My daughter Sophia is 9 years old. We were part of your housing program for 3 years." He kept reading. "On December 15th, we found out we were removed. We don't know why." His eyes moved down the page. "I filed an appeal. It was denied. No one would tell me what we did wrong." The words were simple, plain. No legal language. No accusations. Just a mother trying to understand. "I paid rent on time every month. I sent in every document they asked for. Sophia never missed school. We followed every rule." He turned to the second page. "I asked for a meeting. I was told there was no one to meet with. I asked for a phone call. I was told the decision was final. So I am writing to you. Because someone signed the paper that removed us." He felt something shift in his chest. A tightening. A premonition of what was coming. "And I want to know, did you read it? Did you know there was a child's name on it? Did you know what it would do to her?" The next lines blurred. He had to stop. Breathe. Refocus. "She asked me if she did something wrong. I told her no. But I don't know what to tell her about why." The letter ended there. He turned to the attached document. A single photocopied page. Section 12. Paragraph 7. Highlighted in yellow marker. Beneficiary removal. Martinez, Sophia, minor, age 9. In the margin, written in the same blue ink as the letter, one word. "Why?" David sat with the letter for a long time. The office was quiet. His assistant had gone home. The building was emptying out, the way it always did after 6 o'clock. He read the letter again. Then again. He looked at the photocopied page. Section 12. 7 lines. 7 names. He read them all. Line 1. Thompson, Marcus, age 67. Status, removed. Line 2. Okonkwo, Adiz, age 41. Status, removed. Line 3. Park, Jin Young, age 55. Status, removed. Line 4. Martinez, Sophia, minor, age 9. Status, removed. Line 5. Williams, Darnell, age 38. Status, removed. Line 6. Gupta, Priya, age 29. Status, removed. Line 7. Hernandez, Carlos, age 44. Status, removed. 7 names. 7 removals. All in the same font. All in the same format. Nothing to distinguish one from another. Except Sophia was 9. He looked at the font size. 11 point. Standard. The same size as the header, the paragraph numbers, the reason codes. The same size as everything else on the page. He looked at the spacing. Single-spaced. Standard. No extra lines to draw attention. No bold. No italics. He looked at the reason code. Inc _threshold _exceed. For words and an underscore. Clinical. Efficient. This was how the system communicated. This was what he signed, for times a year, every year, for 11 years. How many names had there been? He tried to calculate. For contracts per year. Average of 6 to 8 status changes per contract. 11 years. That was somewhere between 264 and 352 names. How many of them had been children? He didn't know. He'd never counted. He'd never looked at section 12 at all. He'd looked at page 1, the header, the budget line, the contract summary. He'd looked at the signature page, the attestation language, the date, the signature line. Everything in between was someone else's job. Legal cleared it. Operations reviewed it. Finance processed it. His job was to sign. And he had. Hundreds of times. Maybe thousands. His signature at the bottom of pages he never read. Authorizing decisions he never examined. Affecting lives he never saw. Martinez, Sophia, minor, age 9. She was 9 years old. She was in the 4th grade, probably. She had a mother who wrote letters in blue ink on lined paper. She had a home, until December 1st, when David Harrington put his signature on a page that said she didn't anymore. And he hadn't even seen her name. That was the thing. That was the thing he couldn't stop looking at. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't buried. It was right there, on page 3, in the same font as everything else. He just hadn't looked. He read the letter one more time. Did you know there was a child's name on it? He pulled up the December 1st contract on his computer. 47 pages. He scrolled to page 3. Section 12. Beneficiary status updates. There it was. Martinez, Sophia, minor, age 9, status, removed. Reason code, Inc _threshold _exceed. Same font as everything else. Not highlighted. Not flagged. Just a line of text in a sea of text. He scrolled to the signature page. His signature. Electronic timestamp. 11:49 p.m., December 1st. He'd signed it. He just hadn't read it. He called legal. The Martinez case. Why was she removed? Let me pull the file. Keyboard sounds. Here it is. Income exceeded threshold by 4%. Standard removal per policy section 8.2. 4%. Yes. Family of 2. Maximum threshold is $48,000 annually. Her income for 2023 was $48,400. David calculated. For $100 over the threshold. $33 per month. A raise. A small acknowledgement of good work at her job. That was the reason. Why wasn't this flagged for review? It was flagged, sir. October Quarterly Report. Page 18. You signed off on it October 23rd. He found the October report. Page 18. Beneficiary status changes. 47 cases. Line 23. Martinez, Sophia. Income threshold exceeded. Removal recommended. He'd approved that report too. Skimmed it. Moved on. 2 signatures. 2 moments when he could have seen the name and asked a question. He pulled up his email archive. Searched for Martinez. December 16th. Subject, Appeal, Martinez. He'd been CC'd. He'd never opened it. December 19th. Appeal status update, Martinez. He'd never opened that either. The emails were there, buried among hundreds of others. Sorted by his auto filters into folders he rarely checked. Carmen had tried to reach him. She'd filed every form. Called every number. Waited on hold for 89 minutes. Written a letter by hand and sent it certified mail to the board of directors because she didn't know any other way to be heard. The system had kept her out at every turn. The system had worked exactly as designed. And he had signed the paper that made it final. On January 10th, David called Carmen Martinez. Her number was in the file. He'd never used it before. In 11 years, he'd never called a beneficiary directly. For rings. Hello. Ms. Martinez, this is David Harrington. I'm the executive director of the foundation. I received your letter. Silence. He could hear her breathing. Processing. I reviewed your case personally. There was an error in process. I want to correct it. What changed? The question wasn't grateful. It wasn't hostile. It was tired. I didn't realize the impact. I'm correcting it now. I want to reinstate your housing assistance immediately. An error in process. The words sounded hollow when she repeated them. Ms. Martinez. We already moved. January 2nd. We're staying with my sister now. He stopped. My daughter started at a new school on Monday. She doesn't know anyone there. She still cries at night sometimes. He had nothing to say. I spent 6 weeks trying to talk to someone. Anyone. I called every number. I filled out every form. I sat on hold for hours. No one would tell me anything. I know. I'm sorry. And now you're calling me because I wrote a letter to your board. He couldn't deny it. That was exactly why he was calling. Yes. So the system doesn't work unless someone writes a letter that goes all the way to the top. He thought about the other names in section 12. 7 lines. 7 families. He hadn't looked at any of them. I'm going to change the policy, he said. Grace periods for cases like yours. Mandatory review for any removal involving children. Longer notice periods. That will help other families. Yes. But it won't help us. Silence. Can I meet with you? In person. I'd like to explain what happened. To apologize directly. She was quiet for a long time. I'll think about it. On January 22nd, she came to his office. She didn't take off her coat. She sat in the chair across from his desk and looked at him with eyes that had stopped expecting anything. Not anger. Not hope. Just a flat, patient waiting. He had prepared what to say. The timeline. The process failure. The ways he was trying to fix it. He had offers ready. Housing assistance, moving costs, support. He talked for 15 minutes. He covered everything. The October report he'd approved without reading. The December contract he'd signed without seeing page 3. The emails he'd never opened. The systemic failures that allowed a $400 discrepancy to trigger automatic removal without human review. He told her about the policy changes. Grace periods. Mandatory reviews. New notice requirements. He offered her everything. Reinstated housing. Direct support. A personal line to his office. She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet. The silence stretched. 10 seconds. 20. He could hear the building's ventilation system humming. He could hear his own heartbeat. Then she asked one question. Did you read my daughter's name before you signed? He wanted to explain. The pressure. The deadline. The trust he'd placed in systems designed to catch exactly this. But she wasn't asking for an explanation. She was asking for a truth. No, he said. I didn't. She nodded. Not surprised. Just confirmed. She looked at him for a long moment. And in that look, he saw something he would carry for the rest of his life. The understanding that some things, once done, cannot be undone. That saying sorry changes nothing. That policy changes help the next family, not this one. My daughter asked me if she did something wrong, Carmen said. She asked me why we had to leave. She asked me what she could have done differently. David didn't speak. I didn't have an answer for her. I still don't. I don't know what to tell her about why. She stood up. The policies you're changing, that's good. That will help people. But my daughter will never know her name was on that paper. She'll never know that someone could have stopped it and didn't. She'll spend the rest of her life thinking that sometimes, for no reason at all, the world just takes things away. She walked to the door. I hope you read the next one. She left. The door closed behind her. David sat alone in his office. The letter was still on his desk. Carmen's handwriting. Blue ink on lined paper. The door had closed 30 seconds ago. Maybe a minute. He hadn't moved. I hope you read the next one. Her voice was still in the room. Or maybe just in his head. He couldn't tell the difference. He looked at the chair where she'd been sitting. Empty now? The leather was still slightly compressed from her weight. She hadn't taken off her coat. He kept coming back to that. She'd sat in his office for 15 minutes, listening to his explanations, his apologies, his offers. And she hadn't taken off her coat. She'd never intended to stay. He replayed her question. The one that had ended everything. Did you read my daughter's name before you signed? Not. Did you know this would happen? Not. Did you intend to hurt us? Not. Did the system fail? Just, did you read it? And he'd said no. Because that was the truth. And the truth was worse than malice. Worse than conspiracy. Worse than any of the things she might have accused him of. The truth was that her daughter's name had been there. Right there, on page 3, in the same font as everything else. And he hadn't even looked. He thought about the press release his communications team had drafted. Foundation announces enhanced review procedures for beneficiary status changes. 12 paragraphs. No mention of the Martinez family. No mention of the letter. No mention of the 9-year-old girl who'd asked her mother what she did wrong. The statement would go out tomorrow. The policy changes would take effect February 1st. 12 families would be protected in the next quarter alone. 12 families. But not this one. He thought about calling after Carmen, running down the hallway, catching her at the elevator, saying, "What?" What was left to say? He stayed in his chair. He thought about the other names in Section 12. Thompson, Marcus. Okonkwo, Adiz. Park, Jinyang. Williams, Darnell. Gupta, Priya. Hernandez, Carlos. Had any of them written letters? Had any of them spent 6 weeks trying to reach someone who could explain? Had any of them been told that the decision was final? He didn't know. He hadn't looked. He would look now. He would pull their files. He would find out what happened to them. But that wouldn't change what had already happened. That wouldn't give Marcus Thompson back his apartment. That wouldn't give Adiz Okonkwo back the weeks she'd spent figuring out where to go. That wouldn't give Sophia Martinez back her wall with its drawings and its calendar and its spelling bee ribbon. I don't know what to tell her about why. He stayed in his office until the building was empty, until the cleaning crew had come and gone, until the only light in the hallway was the red glow of the exit signs. Then he picked up the letter, put it in a manila folder, and locked it in his desk drawer. He would keep it there. He didn't know why yet, but he knew he would never throw it away. 6 months later, the policy changes were working. 12 families protected by the new review process. Error rates dropping. Processing times longer, but outcomes better. David received monthly impact reports. He read every page, every footnote, every name. He never heard from the Martinez family again. He tried to follow up twice. No response. His assistant suggested he stop. He stopped. Carmen's letter stayed in his desk drawer. He never framed it, never showed it to anyone, but he never threw it away. Every contract that crossed his desk now, he read completely. Even the 47-page ones. Even the routine renewals. Even at 11:47 p.m. when his eyes burned and his coffee was cold and every instinct told him to just sign and go home. He read them because he knew what he hadn't known before, that a child's name could be on any page, that the system wouldn't catch it, that only he could. His assistant noticed he was working later. "You're staying past midnight more often." He didn't explain why. December came again. Another quarterly renewal. Another stack of documents. Another deadline. He read every page. On page 3, in a section titled Beneficiary Status Updates, there were 6 names. 2 were minors. He checked the reason codes. He pulled the supporting documentation. He made calls. One family, a 12-year-old with a single mother, had exceeded the threshold by $200. Under the old policy, automatic removal. Under the new policy, a 90-day grace period. He approved the extension personally. He asked for monthly updates. The contract was signed at 11:32 p.m., 18 minutes before deadline. He turned off his desk lamp. The office fell into darkness. On the way to the elevator, he passed the supply closet where Carmen's letter was filed. Drawer 3, manila folder. 2 pages of lined paper and a photocopied page with a yellow highlight. He didn't need to read it anymore. He had it memorized. Did you know there was a child's name on it? The elevator doors opened. He stepped inside. Did you know what it would do to her? The doors closed. Somewhere across the city, in an apartment that wasn't quite home yet, but was starting to feel like it might be, Sophia Martinez was asleep. She was 10 now. Different from the girl who had drawn houses on construction paper and circled dates in red. She had friends at her new school. A routine. Something like normal. She still thought about the old apartment sometimes. The window where she'd watched for her mother's car. The calendar with the purple X's. The way the light came through in the morning. But less often now. The memories were fading. The way memories do. Her mother came home at 7:15, same as always. She checked on Sophia, still asleep, and sat down at the kitchen table with a stack of bills. They were making it work. Just barely, but making it. In the drawer beside her, among the receipts and the coupons and the appointment reminders, there was a letter she hadn't opened yet. It had arrived last week. Foundation letterhead. Probably a reapplication notice. The 12 months were almost up. She hadn't decided what to do with it. Maybe she would apply again. Go through the process. Take the chance. Maybe she wouldn't. She looked at Sophia's closed door. At the light from the street lamp coming through the window. At the small space they had made into something livable. They were surviving. That was what mattered. She put the letter back in the drawer. Unopened. For now. Some decisions could wait. And in an office across the city, now dark and empty, A desk drawer held a handwritten letter that would never be thrown away. 2 pages. Lined paper. Blue ink. The question that would never have a good answer. I don't know what to tell her about why. He never signed another document without reading it. But that name was already there. If you know someone who works inside a system like this, share this with them. Not as criticism, as a mirror.